and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja, and these are the headlines. Pakistan says Afghanistan stands at a defining juncture as it has never been so close to turning the tide. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi was addressing the 9th Heart of Asia Istanbul Process Ministerial Conference in Dushanbe. He reiterated that there is no military solution to the conflict. Qureshi said Islamabad is extending all possible support to Kabul, besides facilitating the peace process. In Afghanistan, 3 female polio workers have been shot dead in Jalalabad a day after authorities launched a new campaign against the disease. A spokesman for the Nangarhar police said that the women were killed in 2 separate attacks. No one has immediately claimed responsibility for the attacks. China has approved a sweeping overhaul of Hong Kong's electoral system. The new reforms concern the method for selection of Hong Kong's chief executive, legislative council, and voting procedures. State media says the restructuring was endorsed unopposed by the National People's Congress Standing Committee. The Saudi-led military coalition says it has destroyed 2 explosive laden drones launched by the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Saudi state media quoted the coalition as saying one drone was intercepted over Yemeni airspace while the other was destroyed heading towards the kingdom. A real-world U.S. study shows that Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccines reduce risk of infection by 80% 2 weeks or more after the first of 2 shots. Here in Pakistan, the virus has infected more than 4,000 people and claimed 100 lives overnight. The nationwide death toll has risen to 14,300. Globally, there are 2.79 million fatalities and 127 million cases. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says his country will continue to support a peaceful, sovereign, and prosperous Afghanistan. He was addressing the 9th Ministerial Conference of the Heart of Asia Istanbul Process in Dushanbe. The minister told the gathering at the Afghan peace process stands at a defining juncture and has never been so close to turning a new page. Representatives from around 50 countries and organizations gathered in Dushanbe to discuss building a consensus around the peace process in Afghanistan. Addressing the meeting, Pakistan's foreign minister reiterated that there is no military solution to the protracted conflict in Afghanistan. Referring to the Doha peace deal, Qureshi said the pact is a historic opportunity to achieve an inclusive and comprehensive negotiated political settlement. But he cautioned against the role of peace spoilers within and outside Afghanistan. He said any space gained by ISIS and Al-Qaeda could worsen the crisis. On the sidelines of the conference, Qureshi held separate meetings with his Iranian and Afghan counterparts and Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. Qureshi highlighted the importance of peace and stability in Afghanistan for regional connectivity and development. First launched in 2011, the Heart of Asia Conference is part of Istanbul Process, a regional initiative on security and cooperation for a peaceful Afghanistan. This year's conference comes ahead of a key meeting on the Afghan peace process in Istanbul next month. In Afghanistan, 3 female polio workers have been shot dead in Jalalabad a day after authorities launched a new campaign against the disease. A spokesman for the Nangarhar police said that the women were killed in 2 separate attacks. 3 security personnel were also killed in an attack elsewhere. No one has immediately claimed responsibility for the attacks. In recent months, the country has witnessed an uptick in attacks targeting Afghan officials, journalists, and civil society activists. Earlier this month, ISIS claimed responsibility for killing 3 female media workers in Jalalabad. In Myanmar, the death toll from the country's military crackdown on pro-democracy protesters has crossed 500. This comes after security forces killed another 14 civilians on Monday. Activists across the country have launched a civil disobedience campaign to hurl garbage onto the streets. Myanmar's advisory council has labeled the military as a terrorist group that should face international court. In a joint statement, 3 armed ethnic groups called for the military to stop killing protesters and resolve political issues. They warned they will join other ethnic groups for Myanmar's Spring Revolution to defend themselves. In another development, the UN Security Council will be meeting on Wednesday to discuss the situation in Myanmar. France has also decreed the blind and deadly violence in Myanmar. The Saudi-led military coalition says it has destroyed 2 explosive-laden drones launched by the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Saudi state media quoted the coalition saying one drone was intercepted over Yemeni airspace, while the other was destroyed heading towards the kingdom's Jizan region. The Houthi rebels have yet to comment on the incident. Last week, the coalition destroyed 2 explosive-laden boats and 2 drones launched by the rebels. The battle between coalition forces and the rebels rage on for the control of Yemen's Marib region. China has approved a sweeping overhaul of Hong Kong's electoral system. The reforms concern the method of selection for Hong Kong's chief executive, its legislative council, and the voting procedures. State media says the restructuring was endorsed unopposed by the National People's Congress Standing Committee. President Xi Jinping signed the orders to promulgate the amended annexes. The reforms authorize Hong Kong's Electoral Committee to pick 40 representatives of the city's legislature. Under the reforms, 20 representatives will be directly elected to the city's legislature. The size of the Electoral Committee will also be increased from 1,200 to 1,500. Two French Navy ships have arrived at India's southern port city of Kochi to participate in the joint naval exercise. The ships will sail to the Bay of Bengal for the Quad members' 2-day drill, which begins on the 5th of April. The Indian Navy accorded a ceremonial welcome to the French warships with assault helicopter carriers Torniri and Surkov frigate. The Quad members include India, the United States, Japan, and Australia, began their largest joint naval exercise in over a decade last year. The exercises are seen as a series of efforts to balance China's vast military and economic power in the region. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. does not seek to contain or keep China down, but aims to uphold the international rules-based system. Washington's top diplomat made the remarks at a virtual briefing to foreign reporters. Blinken said the relationship between Washington and Beijing is not one-dimensional, but rather complicated. He said it is competitive, collaborative, and adversarial, all at the same time. Blinken reiterated the U.S. stand on the need to engage China from a position of strength. Bahrain says it admires China's efforts to maintain global security and peace. This comes after China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa in Manama. In a statement, Manama said the king affirmed Bahrain's pride in its close relations with China. Meanwhile, Wang appreciated the king's efforts to develop prosperous Bahraini-Chinese relations. Wang also met Bahrain's Crown Prince Salman bin Hamad and his counterpart Dr. Abdullatif bin Rashid Al Yani. Bahrain's foreign ministry said the two countries have also signed a cultural agreement. Under the agreement, a Chinese cultural center will be established in Manama and Bahraini in one Beijing. A real-world U.S. study shows Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccines reduce the risk of infection by 80%, 2 weeks or more after the first of 2 shots. Globally, there are more than 2.79 million fatalities and over 127 million cases. More on the pandemic in this report.
The world is ramping up political efforts against the COVID-19 pandemic in what is hoped to be the last wave of the outbreak. Canada is set to stop offering AstraZeneca vaccine to people under the age of 55 and require a new analysis of the shot's benefits and risks. Meanwhile, the United States says Its experts will review the WHO report on the virus origins to ensure that the investigation was independent and technically sound. While President Joe Biden announced 90% of adults in the US will be eligible to get a vaccine by the 19th of April, he also urged the states to pause reopening efforts. Data shows that the country's cases have been spiking for the second week in a row as top health officials warn of impending doom.
I'm going to reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom. We have so much to look forward to, so much promise and potential of where we are, and so much reason for hope. But right now, I'm scared. I know what it's like as a physician to stand in that patient room, gowned, gloved, masked, shielded, and to be the last person to touch someone else's loved one because their loved one couldn't be there.
The World Health Organization and 23 states have backed the idea to create a treaty to help the world deal with future health emergencies. Meanwhile, Turkey has imposed tighter measures due to rising cases, and Austria's capital, Vienna, announced plans to extend an Easter lockdown. Over in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson hopes the country will not need to go into another lockdown, but says he does not yet know how strong its defences against future waves will be.
What we don't know is exactly how strong our fortifications now are, how robust our defences are against another wave. And we've seen what's been happening. That's why I stress what's happening with our European friends, because historically, at least, there's been a time lag, and then we've had a wave ourselves.
Japan's health minister has apologized after his staffers violated COVID-19 protocols. Meanwhile, Australia's Queensland state has reported 8 new local cases a day after announcing a 3-day lockdown in Brisbane.
Pakistan has recorded a steep rise in COVID-19 mortalities in the past 24 hours. The health ministry reported 100 new deaths overnight, the highest number of the third wave. Pakistan has so far recorded 14,356 deaths since the pandemic began. More than 4,000 people tested positive for this 6th consecutive day. The virus has infected over 663,000 people countrywide, of which more than 600,000 have recovered. At the moment, there are nearly 49,000 active cases in the country, and the country's positivity rate has slipped to 8.82%. Meanwhile, Punjab Health Minister Yasmin Rashid says Pakistan will receive another 7 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine in April. Australia has imposed sanctions on a Russian and 4 Russian companies over the construction of the Crimean Bridge. Foreign Minister Maris Payne says the bridge is an attempt to consolidate Russia's control over the illegally annexed Crimean Peninsula. Payne asserted that Australia continues to support Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. She said the move is in coordination and Canada and consistent with actions taken by the United Kingdom and the European Union. Payne added Australia has maintained sanctions against Russia since it illegally annexed Crimea and Sevastopol in 2014. She said the new listing brings the total of 168 individuals and 52 entities. The United States says it is committed to multilateralism and has a profound stake in engaging the United Nations. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made these remarks in a virtual meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Blinken said Washington aims to strengthen the founding principles and values of the UN. He said no problems or challenges can be dealt by any country acting alone, even if it's the United States. The Secretary added the United Nations is where countries come together to work on common challenges. Guterres said he welcomes new U.S. initiatives to support multilateral responses to global challenges. The UN Secretary General urged Washington to play a leading role in drawing up a global vaccination plan to beat COVID-19. Guterres called for stepped-up diplomatic efforts for peace as famine is destroying lives in at least 6 countries. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Israeli police have shot dead a 33-year-old Arab man with special needs. They accused him of attempting to stab a police officer in central Haifa city. Police say the victim was running around with a weapon when his mother called the cops to the scene for help. They say the officer felt that he was in immediate life-threatening danger, but the victim's family has denied the allegation and called the incident a cold-blooded murder. They said that he did not have a knife and he was running away from the cops. The family says the forensic report shows that the police shot 5 bullets, 3 of which hit the victim. In Mozambique, ISIS claims it has seized the control of the coastal town of Palma after days of fighting with security forces. Mozambique's army said dozens of people were killed in a militant attack on Palma yesterday. In a statement, the militant group claimed to have killed at least 55 people, including a number of soldiers. The group said it has destroyed and took control of buildings, including factories and banks, and seized vehicles. Aid workers say tens of thousands of people may have fled the town. The total number of dead or missing following the attack remains unclear. Meanwhile, the U.S. has condemned the attack and vowed to support from Mozambique in its fight against the terrorists. France has reopened its embassy in Libya after a 7-year closure in another sign of gradual return to stability. French representatives have resumed operations behind a tall compound wall in a new building on the outskirts of Tripoli. Last week, President Emmanuel Macron announced the reopening after talks with the head of Libya's newly installed presidential council, Mohamed Al-Manfi. Paris closed its embassy after evacuating French and British nationals as fighting broke out in Tripoli in 2014. Macron called for all foreign fighters exit Libya and said France and its European partners were united in backing the ceasefire. Libya's new unity government took office on the 16th of March, completing a smooth transition of power after a decade of violent chaos. A Russian-invented game, Rugball, hopes to go mainstream after a sudden surge of public attention. The sport combines basketball, wrestling, and rugby. More in this report.
If you are a fan of basketball, wrestling, and rugby, but are indecisive on what to play, Rugball is the answer. As reported by the Russian Rugball Federation, this discipline received independent sports status on November 13th in 2003. However, its beginnings date back approximately 40 years, with the rules developed in the late 90s.
Back in the Soviet Union, wrestlers used to play so-called wrestling basketball as a part of the training process. As time passes, this wrestling basketball turned into a sport.
To an untrained eye, rugball may look disorderly, but there are strict limits to what players can do on the court. Many elements of wrestling are not allowed to reduce possible trauma risks.
Only wrestlers can endure it. Basketball players won't hold here. They have some dribbling tactics, but here, as you can see, it's all about wrestling and running. Main thing is to have a good functional condition. I'm 70 and I still run around with my boys.
The game is popular in Russia, where it is played at a professional level in a 22-team league.
In Venezuela, local mayors desperate for cash are levying hefty tax hikes and launching aggressive collection campaigns. This has prompted complaints from businesses struggling to stay afloat in an economy battered by the economic crisis and the pandemic. This report has all the details.
If the ongoing clashes between the military and armed groups were not enough, the locals now have to face another issue. Bills for local taxes and municipal services have jumped to thousands of dollars per month. It is the latest chapter in President Nicolas Maduro's abrupt liberalization of the economy as the U.S. sanctions ushered in an end to generous subsidies.
Con respecto al aseo, me parece demasiado.
With regard to cleaning fees, I think it is very expensive what they are charging apartments and premises. I'm a resident of Chacao and I also have a business here in Chacao. I think that cleaning fees are very expensive. I know that the service is good, but the cleaning service is excessively expensive. I would like them to have a restructuring of prices.
The tax issue has largely halted federal transfers of oil revenue to municipalities that had, for decades, kept local governments' covers full. It creates another challenge for businesses barely surviving hyperinflation and the country's sixth-year recession.
A pesar de los problemas que esto conlleva.
In addition to the problems of a dollarized economy, keeping a cleaning truck costs a lot of money. And then there's the simple fact of workers who are going through this economic situation, that they can move about. We know what the situation with public transport is like. With the metro, there's no cash. And for all cleaning vehicles to go out every day, and sometimes it is more than once a day, that street sweepers are out doing their job.
In some of the country's 335 municipalities, mayors are also authorizing concessionaries to increase rates for services. Earlier this year, Maduro said that mayors had to figure out how to finance municipal expenses. To add salt to Venezuelans' wounds, he insisted that they must pay for public services that were for years heavily subsidized.
Pakistan's currency rupee has soared against the US dollar, dropping the foreign currency to 22-month low on the interbank market. In the second trading session of the week, the rupee appreciated by over 93 paisa against US dollar. The dollar now stands equal to 153 rupees. The value of the dollar in the interbank market is at its lowest since June 2019. After touching 168 rupees in August last year, the dollar has so far depreciated by 15 rupees. European stocks are headed towards a record high over hopes of a vaccine-driven economic recovery. Frankfurt's DAX is leading the gains, ascending more than 0.5%. London's FTSE and the Pan-European Stock 600, Italy's FTSE MIB and the CAC 40 in Paris have also added. Earlier, all Asian markets advanced except for the Australian bourses. Manchester City have announced that their record goal scorer Sergio Aguero is set to leave the club at the end of the season. The 32-year-old striker's contract expires at the end of the season, and he has refused to sign the extension. The Argentine has scored 257 goals in 384 appearances for the club. Aguero was signed from Atletico Madrid in 2011. He will be honored by a statue at Etihad Stadium alongside title-winning captain Vincent Kompany and influential playmaker David Silva. In National Basketball Association, Washington Wizards beat Indiana Pacers 132-124 with Russell Westbrook's historic triple-double. He was the first ever triple-double in the league to include at least 35 points and 20 assists. He finished with 35 points, 21 assists, and 14 rebounds, followed by Rui Hachimura, 26 and 8 rebounds. Wizards won their second game in a row after losing 8 of their previous 9. Meanwhile, Miami Heat snapped a 6-game losing streak as they bested New York Knicks 98-88. Jimmy Butler scored 27 points for Miami, with Bam Adebayo adding 20 points and 17 rebounds. In other fixtures, Los Angeles Clippers dominated Milwaukee Bucks 129-105, while Brooklyn Nets narrowly edged Minnesota Timberwolves 112-105. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at indus.news.